Dr. Jeff Young, a veterinary surgeon and star of the popular Animal Planet show, Dr. Jeff Rocky Mountain Vet has long been admired for his tireless dedication to helping animals. His passion for providing affordable, life-saving care has earned him a massive following and a reputation as one of the most compassionate veterinarians in the world. However, in a recent and emotional Facebook post, Jeff opened up about a heartbreaking crisis plaguing his profession, a crisis driven by corporate greed that is forcing pet owners to make unthinkable choices. For decades, Dr. Jeff has been the embodiment of what veterinary care should be: compassionate, affordable, and accessible. His clinic, Planned Parenthood Plus in Denver, Colorado, was built on the foundation that no pet should suffer because of financial barriers. Over the years, Dr. Jeff has made it his mission to offer low-cost treatment, even offering free services when pet owners couldn't afford to pay. His nonprofit organization, Planned Parenthood International, has extended that mission globally, helping underserved communities across the world. But now, Dr. Jeff's life work is being threatened by a troubling shift in the veterinary industry, one that he describes as a heartbreaking crisis. Dr. Jeff's rise to fame and the end of Dr. Jeff. Rocky Mountain vet Dr. Jeff Young first captured the public's attention through his TV show, Dr. Jeff, Rocky Mountain Vet. The show, which aired on Animal Planet, offered viewers a behind-the-scenes look at his Denver clinic, where Dr. Jeff and his team tackled some of the most difficult cases in veterinary medicine. What made Dr. Jeff stand out was his commitment to providing care to animals, regardless of their owner's ability to pay. The show highlighted his selfless approach to veterinary care, where each life was valued equally, whether it was a stray animal or a beloved pet. Viewers were drawn to Dr. Jeff's no-nonsense demeanor, his love for animals, and his desire to offer solutions that didn't bankrupt pet owners. For many families, Dr. Jeff was a lifeline when they thought they had run out of options. After several successful seasons, Dr. Jeff Rocky Mountain Vet came to an end, but his mission didn't stop. Off-screen, Dr. Jeff continues to run Planned Parenthood Plus, offering the same affordable care that made him a household name. But in recent months, Dr. Jeff has come forward to reveal a dark and disturbing reality that is threatening the profession he has dedicated his life to: the heartbreaking crisis in veterinary care. In a tearful and impassioned Facebook post, Dr. Jeff exposed what he describes as the biggest threat to companion animals today: the corporatization of veterinary care. His post, which has resonated with thousands of pet owners and animal lovers, shared the story of a cat that died because its owners couldn't afford the outrageous costs of treatment at a corporate-owned clinic. The cat had been taken to a local veterinary clinic after falling ill, and the vet suspected it could be either pregnant or suffering from pyometra, a dangerous uterine infection. However, instead of offering affordable care, the clinic sent the cat home without treatment, and her condition worsened. When the owners returned to the clinic, they were quoted $3,000 to $5,000 for the necessary surgery, an amount that was simply out of reach for them. Unable to afford the life-saving procedure, they were forced to take their cat home again. By the time they reached Dr. Jeff's clinic for help, it was too late. The cat had died. Dr. Jeff didn't hold back in expressing his outrage. "What the hell is wrong with my profession?" he wrote, his frustration and sadness clear. He went on to explain that these kinds of tragedies are becoming far too common in the veterinary field as corporate-run clinics focus on profit over care. Dr. Jeff described this heartbreaking phenomenon as economic euthanasia, where pets are essentially condemned to death because their owners can't afford the inflated prices for care. Corporate greed and economic euthanasia. Dr. Jeff's post shed light on a growing crisis within the veterinary industry: the increasing corporatization of veterinary clinics. He explained that as more and more independent practices are bought out by large corporations, the cost of care has skyrocketed. What used to be affordable, life-saving procedures are now being quoted at astronomical prices, often ranging from $8,000 to $12,000 for surgeries that could easily be performed for half that cost. "This is greed and nothing more," Dr. Jeff wrote. He pointed out that corporate-owned clinics are driven by shareholders who demand higher returns, which leads to inflated prices for routine surgeries, diagnostics, and treatments. In his emotional post, Dr. Jeff highlighted that approximately 70% of veterinary clinics are now corporate-owned, and as a result, many families are priced out of the care their pets desperately need. This, he said, has created a system where only the wealthy can afford comprehensive veterinary care, while middle and working-class families are left with no options. For Dr. Jeff, the most heartbreaking part of this crisis is the unnecessary suffering and death of pets who could have been saved. He emphasized that he and his team see quotes for $8,000 to $12,000 all the time for procedures that can be done for a fraction of the cost. This isn't a matter of care being too expensive to provide. It's a matter of corporations prioritizing profits over the well-being of animals and their families. The silent role of humane organizations. In his post, Dr. Jeff also called out large humane organizations, accusing them of sitting on millions of dollars in donations while doing virtually nothing to address this crisis. He expressed frustration that these organizations, which are supposed to protect and advocate for animals, have remained silent on the issue of rising veterinary costs and economic euthanasia. Dr. Jeff's post served as a stark reminder that, despite the millions of dollars these organizations receive, many families still struggle to find affordable care for their pets. He urged for greater transparency and accountability from these groups, calling on them to use their resources to help reduce the financial burden on pet owners and to push back against corporate greed in the veterinary field. A tearful plea for change. Dr. Jeff's tearful post wasn't just a rant, it was a call to action. He made it clear that the current state of veterinary care cannot continue, and he vowed to fight against this system until his last breath. He promised that his life's work would continue through his nonprofit organization, ensuring that future generations of veterinarians could provide affordable care without the pressures of corporate greed. "I will give my last breath trying to help as many pets and people as I can," Dr. Jeff wrote. His emotional plea underscored his deep commitment to helping animals, even as the profession he loves faces an existential crisis. He urged the veterinary community to put compassion and care at the forefront rather than focusing on profits, and he called for systemic change that would make affordable care accessible to everyone. Dr. Jeff's message was clear. Not everything can be about greed. He expressed hope that his efforts would inspire others in the veterinary field to stand up against the corporate takeover of the profession and to fight for a future where no pet has to suffer because their owners can't afford care. Dr. Jeff's ongoing mission. Even in the face of this heartbreaking crisis, Dr. Jeff remains dedicated to his mission. His nonprofit, Planned Pethood International, continues to provide low-cost veterinary services both in Denver and abroad. He is determined to ensure that his legacy of compassionate care will live on, despite the growing pressures of corporatization in the veterinary field. Dr. Jeff Young's tearful plea serves as a wake-up call for both pet owners and the veterinary community. His unwavering commitment to providing affordable care, even as the profession faces a crisis of greed, has made him a hero to many. As Dr. Jeff continues to fight for change, his message resonates deeply with those who believe that veterinary care should be about saving lives, not making money. His emotional post is a stark reminder that the profession he loves is at a crossroads. But with veterinarians like Dr. Jeff leading the charge, there is hope that compassion will one day prevail over profit.